What if the next coin worth a fortune is already sitting in your pocket? Before you spend another Washington quarter, you need to see this. Some of the rarest Washington quarter dollars ever minted have shocked collectors by selling for hundreds of thousands, and in extraordinary cases, even millions of dollars. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a simple quarter, and spending it on a cup of coffee without giving it a second thought. Now imagine discovering that the very same coin could have been worth as much as $699,000 to the right collector. That possibility is exactly why experienced coin hunters never underestimate ordinary pocket change. Every year, countless valuable coins quietly disappear into vending machines, cash registers, and coin counting machines because their owners never realized what they were holding. Collectors see something completely different. While most people see 25 cents, they see history, rarity, and extraordinary opportunity. Today, we're uncovering one of the most talked about modern Washington quarters, the 1990D Washington quarter, a coin that has sparked intense discussion among collectors because of its rare minting errors, exceptional condition, and astonishing auction potential. Before you spend another quarter, you may want to listen very carefully. The Washington quarter has been part of American life since 1932, honoring the nation's first president while becoming one of the most recognizable coins ever produced by the United States Mint. In 1990, the Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of Washington quarters intended for everyday circulation. On the surface, that number makes the 1990D quarter appear incredibly common. Millions were produced, millions were spent, and millions continue circulating today. But numismatics has always taught one fascinating lesson. Rarity isn't always about low mintage. Sometimes, true rarity comes from extraordinary mistakes that should never have escaped the mint in the first place. That is exactly where the story becomes fascinating. Among the countless ordinary 1990D quarters, a tiny number display remarkable minting errors that transformed an everyday coin into a collector's dream. These error coins weren't intentionally created. They were accidents, split-second manufacturing failures that somehow slipped past quality control before entering circulation. Today, these accidental masterpieces are among the most sought-after modern quarters in advanced collections. Before we dive into the rarest varieties, here's something worth doing right now. If you have a jar of loose change sitting in your kitchen, garage, or dresser drawer, pause for a moment after this video and check every 1990D quarter you can find. Most will be ordinary, but collectors have made remarkable discoveries in forgotten coin jars before. Hidden treasures have an incredible way of hiding in the most ordinary places. One of the most valuable errors associated with the 1990D Washington quarter is the dramatic off-center strike. During production, the coin blank failed to align correctly with the dies, causing part of the design to be missing while leaving a blank crescent around the edge. Minor off-center strikes carry premiums, but dramatic examples showing clear dates and mint marks become exceptionally desirable. The more dramatic the error while preserving important design details, the stronger the collector demand. Another highly desirable variety involves broad strikes. Normally, a retaining collar keeps the coin at its correct diameter during striking. When that collar fails, the metal spreads outward under tremendous pressure. The result is a quarter noticeably larger than normal with missing edge reads. These broad-struck examples stand out immediately, making them favorites among collectors who appreciate dramatic mint errors. Equally exciting are double-struck quarters. Imagine a coin receiving one strike, partially ejecting from the press, then getting struck again in a different position. The overlapping images create an unforgettable appearance that instantly captures attention. Strong double strikes are exceptionally difficult to find, especially on modern Washington quarters preserved in outstanding condition. Then there are die cracks and retained cut errors. After striking thousands of coins, minting dies experience tremendous stress. Small fractures eventually develop. Early die cracks appear as raised lines across the coin's surface, while larger breaks can create impressive raised blobs called cuds along the rim. These dramatic die failures tell the story of equipment reaching its limits, creating unique fingerprints that no two coins share exactly. Collectors also search intensely for rotated die errors. Hold a quarter with George Washington facing upright, then flip it vertically. The reverse should appear perfectly aligned. If the reverse design is significantly rotated, you've discovered a fascinating mechanical error. While slight rotations can occur, dramatic rotations command substantial premiums because they demonstrate a serious production mistake. Now here's something many people overlook. Condition can be just as important as the error itself. Two identical error coins may have dramatically different values simply because one remained untouched for decades while the other circulated through thousands of transactions. Professional grading services carefully evaluate every tiny detail, from luster and strike quality to surface preservation. High mint state grades become exponentially rarer with each point on the grading scale. This brings us to one of the biggest misconceptions in coin collecting. Many people believe every old coin is valuable. In reality, rarity, demand, condition, and authentication determine market value, not simply age. A flawless modern rarity can outperform a much older coin if collector demand reaches extraordinary levels. Let's talk about why the finest known examples become legends. Imagine a freshly struck quarter leaving the Denver Mint in 1990 with blazing mint luster and nearly perfect surfaces. Instead of entering circulation, it somehow avoids scratches, fingerprints, and everyday wear for decades. Combine that pristine preservation with a spectacular mint error, and you've created something collectors may compete over for years. These elite examples represent the absolute pinnacle of modern error collecting. Here's another attention check. When was the last time you actually looked closely at a quarter before spending it? Most people never do. Yet collectors routinely inspect every coin they receive in change. That simple habit has uncovered valuable errors worth thousands of dollars. Sometimes the greatest opportunities arrive disguised as everyday transactions. The phrase ghost coin often appears in conversations about extraordinary modern rarities. Why? Because these coins seem almost impossible to find. Stories circulate among collectors, auction houses, and grading experts, yet very few examples ever become publicly available. When a major error appears after years of silence, bidding can become surprisingly aggressive as advanced collectors compete for ownership. Market psychology plays an enormous role. Wealthy collectors aren't simply purchasing metal worth 25 cents. They're purchasing rarity, history, competition, and prestige. Every elite collection seeks pieces that few others can own. When supply remains microscopic and demand continues growing, values can rise dramatically. Now let's address the headline that captures everyone's imagination, the possibility of a $699,000 valuation. It's important to understand what drives such extraordinary numbers. An ordinary circulated 1990 D quarter is worth exactly 25 cents. Even many uncirculated examples remain affordable. However, when a coin combines an exceptionally rare mint error, elite certification, nearly flawless preservation, and intense auction competition, its value can increase beyond what most people ever imagine. Exceptional auction prices represent the absolute top tier of the market, where rarity and competitive bidding intersect. Imagine two determined collectors searching for the same unique coin. Both have spent years waiting for the opportunity. Both know another example may never appear. Suddenly, the auction begins. Bids rise rapidly. 5,000 becomes 10,000. 10,000 becomes 50,000. Six figures no longer seem impossible because neither bidder wants to lose a once-in-a-generation opportunity. This is how remarkable auction records are created, not by face value, but by scarcity and competition. Another fascinating factor is population reports. Professional grading companies maintain records showing how many coins have achieved each certified grade. If only one or two examples exist at the highest level, collectors recognize immediately that replacement opportunities may never come. Limited population often translates directly into increased demand. Of course, authentication remains absolutely essential. Unfortunately, excitement surrounding valuable coins has encouraged altered pieces and counterfeit examples. Some individuals artificially modify ordinary quarters to imitate rare errors. Others attempt to clean coins, believing they'll increase value, when in reality cleaning usually reduces collector interest. Serious buyers insist upon professional authentication before paying substantial amounts. Here's a question worth asking yourself. What if the next quarter sitting in your car's cup holder deserves a closer inspection? It sounds unbelievable until you remember that every famous discovery began with someone deciding to look instead of spend. Treasure hunting doesn't always require a metal detector or an archaeological expedition. Sometimes it begins with loose change. The popularity of error collecting has grown significantly because every error tells a story. Unlike ordinary coins produced exactly as intended, error coins reveal the hidden mechanical side of minting. They preserve split-second failures inside one of the world's most sophisticated manufacturing processes. Each mistake becomes a permanent historical record frozen in metal. For beginners entering the hobby, patience often becomes the greatest advantage. Many collectors search thousands of coins before discovering something meaningful. Yet that persistence builds knowledge. Over time, the eye becomes trained to notice subtle doubling, unusual strike characteristics, missing design elements, and other important diagnostics that casual observers completely miss. The remarkable thing about coin collecting is that opportunity still exists. Unlike many forms of treasure hunting that require expensive equipment or specialized travel, coins remain part of everyday commerce. Every grocery store purchase, every bankroll, every forgotten piggy bank represents another chance to discover something extraordinary. Most searches end with ordinary coins, but all it takes is one exceptional discovery to change everything. The story of the 1990 Washington quarter reminds us that appearances can be incredibly deceptive. What looks ordinary today could become tomorrow's prized collectible if it possesses the right combination of rarity, preservation, and mint error. That possibility is exactly what keeps collectors searching year after year with unwavering enthusiasm. So before you empty your pockets tonight, take a closer look at every quarter. Examine the mint mark. Check the alignment. Look for doubling, off-center strikes, die cracks, broad strikes, unusual surfaces, or anything that seems different from an ordinary coin. Most will simply be spending money, but every collector knows the next incredible discovery is always hiding among ordinary change. And remember, the world of rare coins doesn't stop with the 1990 Washington quarter. In our next episode, we'll uncover another astonishing American coin whose rare error has stunned collectors and produced breathtaking auction results that few people ever expected. You won't want to miss it, because the next life-changing treasure could already be waiting quietly inside your own pocket change. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a single quarter, and unknowingly spending a coin that could change your financial future forever. It sounds impossible, doesn't it? Yet history has repeatedly proven that ordinary-looking coins have sold for astonishing amounts because of extraordinary mistakes made during the minting process. While millions of Americans spend quarters every single day without a second thought, serious collectors carefully inspect every detail, hoping to uncover a hidden treasure. The difference between a spender and a collector is often nothing more than knowledge. Today, we're exploring one of the most talked about modern coins, the 2021 Washington quarter. Under the right conditions and with the right combination of rare minting errors, examples have attracted tremendous attention from elite collectors. Before you spend another quarter, you may want to listen carefully, because the coin sitting unnoticed in your change jar could deserve a much closer look. The year 2021 marked an unusual chapter in American coinage. The United States Mint was transitioning between major quarter programs while also responding to unprecedented production challenges. At the Philadelphia Mint, millions of Washington quarters rolled off the presses. On the surface, they appear completely ordinary. Most are worth exactly 25 cents. But hidden among those millions are a tiny number of spectacular error coins that have transformed an everyday quarter into one of the most exciting modern discoveries for collectors. These aren't ordinary circulation coins. They're accidental creations that escaped the Mint's quality control, making them genuine collectibles with growing demand. Here's something that many people never realize. A coin's age isn't what determines its value. Rarity does. A coin can be over 100 years old and still be worth only a few dollars if millions survived. Meanwhile, a modern coin only a few years old can command enormous premiums if it contains a dramatic minting error that very few examples share. That's exactly why advanced collectors have become obsessed with searching through rolls of 2021 Washington quarters. They know that one remarkable discovery could be worth thousands or, in extraordinary circumstances involving unique combinations of errors and exceptional condition, potentially far more. Now let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked closely at the quarters in your wallet? Not glanced at them, but really examined them. If you have a coin jar sitting somewhere in your home, this might be the perfect moment to pause and think about what's inside. Most people assume pocket change is just loose money waiting to be spent. Collectors see something entirely different. They see opportunity hiding in plain sight. Let's dive into the specific errors that make certain 2021p Washington quarters so fascinating. One of the most sought after is the dramatic die crack. As coin dies wear down after striking thousands of planchets, microscopic fractures can develop. Eventually, these fractures produce raised lines across the finished coin. Minor die cracks are common and generally add little value. But massive retained die cracks, especially those creating bold, visually striking features, become much more desirable. Collectors often refer to these as lightning bolt cracks because they stretch dramatically across the design, making every affected coin unique. Another important error involves die chips. These occur when tiny pieces of the die break away, leaving raised blobs of metal on the struck coin. While small die chips may not attract much attention, unusually large or strategically located die chips can create famous varieties eagerly pursued by specialists. Some collectors spend years searching for the perfect example because every die chip tells part of the die's life story before it was finally replaced. Then there's the exciting world of double dies. During die manufacturing, even the slightest misalignment can produce doubling on letters, numbers, or design elements. Under magnification, strong doubling creates a dramatic appearance that immediately separates an ordinary coin from an extraordinary one. Not every form of doubling is valuable, however. Machine doubling, caused during the striking process, usually carries little premium. Genuine double dies, verified by experts, are significantly more desirable because the error originates during die creation itself. Perhaps one of the most visually dramatic errors is the off-center strike. Imagine the coin blank entering the striking chamber slightly out of position. Instead of producing a perfectly centered design, part of the image is missing while a blank crescent remains visible. The greater the off-center percentage, provided the date and mint mark remain visible, the greater the collector interest tends to become. Large off-center strikes immediately catch the eye and are among the easiest errors for beginners to recognize. Another category that has generated tremendous excitement is the struck-through error. During production, grease, debris, cloth fibers, or even fragments of metal can become trapped between the die and the coin blank. The resulting strike leaves unusual missing details or recessed areas that permanently record the accident. Every struck-through error is unique, making each coin an individual piece of minting history. But here's where things become truly fascinating. The rarest and most valuable coins often don't have just one error. They have multiple significant errors appearing together. Imagine a 2021p Washington quarter displaying a dramatic die crack, a major struck-through area, strong doubling, and preserved in nearly flawless mint state condition. Suddenly, you're no longer looking at an ordinary circulation coin. You're looking at a conversation piece capable of attracting intense bidding whenever it appears before serious collectors. This is exactly why experts sometimes describe these elite examples as ghost coins. They exist, but they're rarely seen. Most collectors hear stories about them, read auction records, or see certified examples in reference books. Actually finding one in circulation is extraordinarily uncommon. That scarcity fuels the excitement. Every collector dreams of making the next headline discovery. Here's another question for you. How many quarters have passed through your hands this year? Hundreds? Maybe even thousands? Now imagine if just one of those coins had an extraordinary mint error and quietly disappeared into a vending machine or cash register because nobody noticed. That's exactly what happens every single day. Valuable coins don't announce themselves. They rely on informed collectors to recognize what everyone else overlooks. Professional grading also plays an enormous role in determining value. Coins certified in Mint State 67, Mint State 68, or even higher become increasingly scarce. Every tiny contact mark, scratch, or fingerprint can reduce the final grade and dramatically affect market value. That's why experienced collectors handle potential discoveries carefully, often by the edges, and avoid unnecessary cleaning. Ironically, cleaning a rare coin almost always reduces its value rather than increasing it. Original surfaces are one of the most important characteristics collectors seek. Now let's address one of the biggest questions everyone asks. Could a 2021 Washington quarter really be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? The overwhelming majority are worth face value. However, the highest values discussed by collectors generally refer to hypothetical or exceptionally unique examples featuring dramatic mint errors, extraordinary preservation, impeccable certification, and intense auction competition. In the coin market, it isn't simply the error that creates value. It's the combination of rarity, condition, authentication, provenance, and collector demand all converging at exactly the right moment. Imagine two determined collectors competing for the only known example of a spectacular error variety. Neither wants to lose. Auction prices often climb not because the metal itself is valuable, but because opportunity is disappearing with every new bid. That's the psychology behind the world's greatest coin sales. When rarity meets passion, ordinary price guides can become meaningless. Current interest in modern mint errors continues to grow as younger collectors enter the hobby alongside experienced numismatists. Social media, online auctions, and grading population reports have made it easier than ever for remarkable discoveries to gain national attention. As awareness increases, more collectors begin searching, yet genuinely important error coins remain incredibly scarce. That imbalance between supply and demand is exactly what drives long-term collector interest. Here's your attention reset. If you have a jar filled with quarters somewhere in your house, don't ignore it another day. Those coins have probably been sitting there for months or even years. Instead of assuming they're just spare change, take a careful look under bright light. Use a magnifying glass if you have one. Examine the mint mark. Study the lettering. Look for doubling, unusual raised lines, missing details, off-center designs, or anything that simply doesn't look normal. You might spend an hour finding nothing unusual, or you might discover a coin that completely changes your understanding of pocket change. Think about it for a second. Most fortunes begin with recognizing value before everyone else does. That's true in investing. It's true in real estate. And surprisingly, it's also true in coin collecting. The collector who notices what others ignore is often the one rewarded the most. The possibility of an elite 2021 Washington quarter approaching extraordinary values, sometimes discussed as high as $899,000, captures attention because it represents the absolute peak of what a truly unique, authenticated, museum-quality error coin could potentially achieve under exceptional auction conditions. While such values are extraordinarily rare and not representative of typical 2021 quarters, they remind us that remarkable minting mistakes can transform an everyday coin into an object of intense collector interest. Before you spend another quarter, remember this simple lesson. Never judge a coin by its face value alone. Hidden among ordinary change could be a remarkable survivor from the minting process, carrying a story that no other coin can tell. Knowledge is the collector's greatest advantage, and every great discovery begins with someone taking a second look instead of walking away. Thank you for joining me on this fascinating journey into the world of rare modern quarters. If you enjoyed uncovering the secrets behind the 2021 Washington quarter, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, because our next episode explores another modern coin that has stunned collectors with astonishing mint errors, breathtaking auction prices, and a rarity so incredible that many experts believe examples are still hiding in circulation today. You definitely won't want to miss what's coming next. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a simple 1965 Washington quarter with no mint mark, and spending it on a cup of coffee without a second thought. Now imagine discovering that the very same coin, if it carries one extraordinary combination of rare characteristics, could be worth as much as $794,000. It sounds impossible, but stories like these have transformed ordinary people into owners of remarkable treasures. Every year, rare coins quietly pass through cash registers, coin jars, estate sales, and forgotten collections because most people see only 25 cents. Collectors, however, see history, rarity, and opportunity. The difference between a spender and a collector isn't luck. It's knowledge. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why the 1965 Washington quarter with no mint mark has become one of the most talked about modern quarters in American numismatics. The year 1965 marked one of the biggest turning points in the history of American coinage. Rising silver prices had forced the United States Mint to make a dramatic decision. For the first time in decades, the familiar 90% silver composition of the Washington quarter was replaced with a copper-nickel-clad design. At the same time, mint marks disappeared entirely from circulating coins. Whether a quarter was struck in Philadelphia or Denver, it carried no mint mark. The goal was simple: discourage collectors from hoarding new coins during a nationwide coin shortage. Millions of Americans barely noticed the change. Today, that historic transition has created one of the most fascinating chapters in modern coin collecting. At first glance, every 1965 Washington quarter without a mint mark looks completely ordinary. More than 1 billion were produced, making them seem incredibly common. That is exactly why so many valuable examples continue to hide in plain sight. Most people assume that because these coins are common, none can possibly be valuable. That assumption has cost countless people thousands of dollars. The truth is that while standard examples remain worth face value, a tiny number escape the mint with spectacular errors or extraordinary qualities that have made them legends among serious collectors. Before we reveal the most valuable errors, here's something you should do right now. If you have a coin jar, an old piggy bank, or a drawer filled with loose change, pause for a moment after this video and check every 1965 quarter you own. It takes only a few minutes, and that forgotten change could tell an entirely different story. The first characteristic that separates an ordinary coin from a potentially life-changing discovery is the strike quality. During 1965, the mint operated under enormous pressure to produce as many coins as possible. Dies wore out quickly, machinery ran continuously, and quality control wasn't always perfect. As a result, collectors search for coins displaying exceptional detail combined with unusual minting mistakes. One of the most desirable is a dramatic double die. This occurs when the working die receives slightly misaligned impressions during its creation, producing visible doubling on design elements. Strong doubling can sometimes be seen in the lettering, the date, or portions of George Washington's portrait. Authentic double dies are extremely rare, and when confirmed by professional grading services, they become highly desirable collector pieces. Another remarkable error is the off-center strike. Instead of being perfectly aligned during striking, the coin blank shifts, causing part of the design to be missing while leaving a blank crescent along the edge. The larger the off-center strike, while still showing the full date, the more attractive it becomes to collectors. These errors are visual, dramatic, and instantly recognizable. Every off-center coin tells the story of a split-second mechanical failure inside the mint, making each example unique. Then there are clipped planchets. Before coins are struck, blank discs are punched from long metal strips. Occasionally, the punching process overlaps, creating blanks with missing curved sections. When struck, these coins display unmistakable clipped edges. Genuine examples reveal special stress lines opposite the clip, known among experts as the Blakesley effect. Because these errors occur before striking, they represent authentic mint mistakes rather than post-mint damage. Now let's talk about one of the most fascinating possibilities of all, the wrong planchet error. Imagine a 1965 quarter accidentally being struck on a silver planchet intended for an earlier issue or even another denomination. These transitional errors occurred during periods when old and new coin compositions overlapped inside mint facilities. Since 1965 marked the beginning of clad coinage, any genuine silver transitional error instantly becomes a superstar in the collecting world. These coins are exceptionally scarce, heavily studied, and capable of reaching astonishing prices whenever one appears at auction. Here's a question that surprises even experienced collectors. Have you ever weighed your quarters? Most people never do. Yet a simple digital scale costing only a few dollars can reveal whether a coin might have been struck on the wrong metal. Standard clad quarters weigh approximately 5.67 grams, while older silver quarters weigh about 6.25 grams. That tiny difference could completely change the story behind your coin. Another category attracting enormous attention involves dramatic die cracks and retained cut errors. As coin dies age, enormous striking pressure causes them to fracture. Sometimes sections of the die actually break away, allowing metal to flow into the missing area during striking. The result is a raised blob or unusual shape attached to the design. Large cut errors are especially collectible because they represent the final stages of a die's useful life before replacement. Each one serves as physical evidence of the intense industrial conditions inside the mint during one of America's busiest coin production periods. Collectors also pursue coins exhibiting major die breaks, die clashes, broad strikes, and multiple striking errors. While each individual mistake has its own story, combinations of multiple errors on a single coin are especially coveted. The rarer the combination, the stronger the collector demand. In numismatics, rarity almost always drives value. But here's where things become truly fascinating. Condition can be just as important as rarity. Two identical error coins may differ in value by hundreds of thousands of dollars simply because one remained untouched for decades while the other entered circulation. Professional grading services evaluate every detail, including strike sharpness, surface preservation, luster, eye appeal, and overall quality. Coins earning mint state grades of MS67, MS68, or higher become exceptionally scarce because so few survived without wear or damage. Think about that for a moment. Two quarters minted on the same day using the same machines can end up living completely different lives. One spends decades bouncing through cash registers and vending machines until its details disappear forever. The other is tucked away inside a forgotten collection, preserving its original brilliance until collectors finally recognize its extraordinary quality. Sometimes, the difference between 25 cents and hundreds of thousands of dollars comes down to decades of careful preservation. Of course, it's important to separate fact from fantasy. You may have seen headlines claiming that every 1965 no-mint mark quarter is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. That simply isn't true. The overwhelming majority remain common circulating coins worth face value unless they possess exceptional preservation, a genuine mint error, or another highly desirable characteristic confirmed by reputable grading experts. Extraordinary auction prices represent the rarest examples, not average circulation finds. So where does the incredible figure of $794,000 come from? Values approaching that level are associated with exceptionally rare coins combining elite preservation, remarkable rarity, historical importance, and extraordinary collector demand. Whenever unique transitional errors or one-of-a-kind combinations surface, bidding can become incredibly competitive. Wealthy collectors understand that opportunities to purchase truly elite examples may appear only once in a generation. That intense competition has pushed record-setting coins into astonishing price territory. Today's market is also fueling renewed excitement. Interest in rare coins has expanded dramatically over recent years as more investors seek tangible historical assets. Auction houses continue reporting strong participation from collectors worldwide, especially for certified key-date coins, spectacular mint errors, and condition rarities. Digital marketplaces, online auctions, and social media have introduced an entirely new generation of collectors eager to own remarkable pieces of American history. As demand rises while supply remains permanently limited, the most exceptional examples continue attracting serious attention. Here's another challenge for you. The next time someone hands you change at a grocery store, don't immediately toss those quarters into your pocket. Spend 10 seconds looking at the date. It may feel like a tiny habit, but hidden fortunes have often been discovered by people who simply paid attention while everyone else looked away. Perhaps the greatest lesson hidden inside the 1965 Washington quarter is that value isn't always obvious. History often disguises itself as something ordinary. The coin sitting unnoticed in a drawer today may represent decades of forgotten opportunity. Every scratch, every strike, every tiny manufacturing mistake tells part of a story that began inside the United States Mint more than half a century ago. That story continues every time another collector discovers an overlooked rarity hiding in plain sight. The world of numismatics rewards patience, education, and careful observation. It reminds us that remarkable treasures don't always arrive wrapped in gold or displayed behind museum glass. Sometimes they arrive as ordinary pocket change passed from one person to another without anyone realizing its true significance. The next coin you examine could simply be another quarter, or it could become the centerpiece of an advanced collection worth a small fortune. Before you spend another 1965 Washington quarter, give it the attention it deserves. Examine the date carefully. Check the weight. Look for doubling, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, unusual die breaks, missing design elements, and exceptional condition. If something appears unusual, resist the temptation to clean the coin. Cleaning can permanently reduce its collector value. Instead, preserve it carefully and seek evaluation from a respected professional grading service. A few moments of caution could protect a discovery that changes everything. And if you think this quarter is impressive, wait until you see the next coin we'll uncover. In our next episode, we'll reveal an ultra-rare American coin that many collectors have searched for their entire lives. A coin so elusive that even experienced numismatists become excited whenever whispers of a new discovery begin circulating. You won't want to miss that story, because the next hidden fortune might already be sitting closer than you ever imagined.